next on the list we've got Andy Irvine. Andy, you're one of the founder members.
I am, yes. Myself and Liam are the two remaining founder members, yes.
How long's the group been in existence?
About 3 years now, I think, yeah.
And how did you come to form Planxty?
Well, Christy Moore, who is no longer with us, about 3 years ago, he'd been living in England for quite a long time, and he was making a record, and he decided he wanted to make it at home in Ireland, in County Kildare, and he wanted a few session musicians to play with him. So we knew Christy for ages, Liam and Donal Lunny and myself and a few others, and we went down and made the record with him, and we had such a good time, and the music sounded so promising that when Christy said, "How do you fancy forming a group?" it had never actually occurred to me, but after about 10 seconds of thinking of it, I thought, wow, yeah, just what I've been looking for a long time. Yeah.
How did you decide what direction Planxty was going to take, or didn't you have any idea at that time?
Yes, we had. I mean, by the very personnel in the group and the type of music that they were into, there was only one direction to take. Like it was, it was bound to be in a fairly strict traditional direction.
Totally traditional?
Well, not totally. No. I suppose at the time, early on, there was a certain amount of like we didn't quite know what to do. In the beginning, for instance, Christy used to sing a number of songs that were contemporary, and I don't know how it happened, but just gradually they got dropped and replaced by more traditional material.
I see. How did you pick up the name Planxty?
Oh, well, we spent many a long day sitting in pubs, deliberating for a name, coming up with hilarious names. It's a long business usually picking a name. The two groups I've been in, it's always taken about a week of drunken hilarity to finally pick on one.
The longer the better.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we eventually struck on Planxty. Sean O'Riordan at the time his records were comparatively new 3 years ago, and he had more or less rediscovered this particular type of tune called a Planxty. So we thought it was an unusual word. It looked well, it sounded well, and we eventually decided to adopt it.
Well, the next obvious question is, what exactly is a Planxty?
Oh, well, that's a problem, really, because nobody quite knows. Sean O'Riordan's version of it was that it comes from the Irish word sláinte, meaning good health. Because a lot of Carolyn's Planxties are followed by the surname, presumably of the patron for whom he wrote the piece of music.
Yes.
Like you have Planxty Brabazon, Planxty Irvine. So that was Sean O'Riordan's. But nobody quite knows. I mean, there are various other suggestions. You can ask Liam. He's the authority on the word Planxty.
Because it sounds a bit like Boxty, It sounds like
come across that one before.
A food of some kind, or
we did a gig once.
Plankton, even.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the names we have been called, especially in the beginning, are Playtex, the Plastics. But we did a gig once up in County Antrim, and they had some kind of a scientific exhibition on at the same time, and there were all these computers, and somehow the advertisement for the concert got mixed up with the computer equipment, and everybody on the campus was trying to figure out what this Plan XTY was.
I was going to say that it was IBM or something. In the group you play a variety of instruments.
Yeah.
And there's one in particular which intrigues me, and that's
the hurdy-gurdy, of course, yeah.
What part does it play in Irish folk music?
Well, none until I booted it in. No, I think I would say that I'm the first person to play the hurdy-gurdy in Ireland since its heyday of, what, I don't know, 16th, 17th century.
There was a heyday of the hurdy-gurdy?
Oh, all over, well, not necessarily in Ireland, but all over Western Europe. And there was a maker in Coleraine, so the sound of the hurdy-gurdy has been heard in Ireland before, presumably.
Is it a difficult instrument to play?
No, it's one of these instruments that's easy to play simply, and you can make it as difficult as you like, you know. Obviously, if you want to play the Cacciatorian sword dance on it or something, you'd be hard pressed. But I mean, anybody, a child, could play Three Blind Mice on it.
Does the machine have limitations?
Oh yes, of course. Like most instruments, it has. It hasn't got a very dynamic range. By turning the wheel just a shade faster, you can get fractionally more volume or less volume. But like the pipes, it's generally all on the same volume. Mm-hmm.
So turning the wheel is volume?
No, it's sounding the note. I mean, for the I'll try and describe it, if you like, because it's a bit pointless to be talking about it when nobody knows what.
No, well, I was going to ask you what it was, in fact.
Well, it's more or less shaped like the body of a guitar, without a neck. And on top of the body, there's an enclosed box through which the strings go. At one end, they go just normally to guitar-type pegs, you know. They then come through the box, and at the other end, there's a wheel over which they go, just touching the wheel with a piece of cotton on the string. And they go into the tailpiece. So when you turn the handle, the wheel goes around, and the string is resting on the wheel, so that it makes a continuous sound.
Yes.
Inside the box, you have different, you have pegs, horizontal pegs, which are pressed in from the other side of the box, more or less, say like piano keys, the same type of thing, which alters the length of the string, and therefore causes a different note.
I see. So in a sense, it's a guitar designed by a committee.
Well, no, it doesn't really approximate to any other kind of instrument that I can think of. Perhaps I better leave it at that, because I'm sure anybody listening will not be able to make one iota of sense.
Going to your composing.
Oh yeah.
You do feature one of your own songs
at the moment, yeah.
Are there plans to feature more of your material?
Well, most of the materials I have written, because I haven't written anything for quite a long time. Most of it, well, there's 3 of the songs have actually been done in the group already, and just dropped. You know, we might bring them back again sometime. But as for the rest of the songs, I think most of them are not really suitable to Planxty. I may do them sometime with other people, but at the moment I don't think so.
On stage last night, you mentioned the fact that you've been to Bulgaria. Well, Paul mentioned before that you've been to Bulgaria and travelled around as a hippie, for want of a better word, but travelling musician.
That's what they used to call us.
Hippie. What kind of influence did this have on your music?
Oh, quite a lot. I became very interested in Eastern European music, and it's had quite a lot of effect on the music that I composed since then. And most of my songs were written about that time. That's about 6-7 years ago.
You played a Bulgarian number last night. Was that purely just for the German audience?
No, it's
standard part of it.
It's on the latest record, yeah.
The latest record is called
Cold Blow on a Rainy Night.
We'll watch out for that one.
Oh yes, do. I'm not sure whether I don't think it's released in Germany yet, because of course it isn't. Record companies are always inevitably behind the time.
Yes. Unfortunately, they never seem to get it.
They never get coordination. It'll be released probably on the day we finish the tour or something like that.
Yes, probably. I asked Paul what the next mountain for Planxty would climb was. He said it's the States. If you were saying
I imagine it's definitely one of the next mountains, yeah. I wouldn't mind having a shot at Scandinavia. And
Scandinavia.
yeah.
This is from your own point of view, or you said Planxty would go down well?
No, I think we might go down well there, yeah.
What is the appeal of a group like Planxty to continentals?
I haven't a clue. I couldn't imagine. Presumably they... I don't know, it just seems to... Irish music seems to have a general appeal to anybody. I couldn't tell you why.
You make no concessions to people not being able to understand English. For example, last night, this lengthy introduction.
Probably a bit too lengthy, in fact, yeah. I have to watch that.
Well, it's very difficult to know, look. Everything that was said got a reaction.
Yeah.
Invariably. And yet, this is not a great English-speaking area.
Yeah.
Did you know this in advance?
No, I didn't know that. The thing is that, as we do not speak German, we feel it's better to introduce the songs to the few people who will understand. But as Johnny was saying last night, you're speaking a bit slower. You get a bit confused yourself. You begin to say things you hadn't intended to say,
yes.
And eventually it gets longer and longer. And I think we're aware of that problem. And tonight we'll see short, brief little introductions, I hope.
I see.
Because I imagine it does get a bit... Especially if you can't speak a word of English. You're sitting there for about 3 minutes listening to somebody gabbling on. You haven't a clue what he's saying. Must be quite annoying. So.
Planxty, having reached the top now in Ireland, you are the top group of your kind, which makes you all idols. But by the same token, you must still have idols of your own whom you look up to. Are there any guitarists or hurdy-gurdy players who you would like to emulate yourself? Is there anybody you look up to?
Well, first of all, as regards being an idol, I never considered myself an idol. I'm sure the others didn't, and there's very little of the idolization goes on in our sphere, you know. I'm sure an awful lot more goes on in the pop world.
Oh yes, of course.
But as regards having people I'd like to emulate, no, there's an awful lot of people that I admire as musicians, but well, they're too numerous to mention. I don't think I could actually point to anybody that I would like to emulate. I mean, I'd love to be able to play the guitar like, well, Mick Jones. I don't know whether you know him, but I'd love to be able to play the pipes like Liam O'Flynn or Seamus Ennis. But no, I don't think there is actually anybody that I would try to emulate. Not wishing to sound big-headed or anything.
There's nobody that you've learned things from, particularly?
Oh yeah, when I was a kid, my first influence was Woody Guthrie, the American folk singer, and I'm sure I still retain a lot of influences from him. But apart from that, my influences have been mainly local, sort of Dublin influences. When I was just beginning to sing traditional music, Johnny Moynihan, people like that had an influence on me.
If, for whatever reason, Planxty had to split up, you know, an immediate split up, and you were left without a group, and you decided you would reform a group, would you reform another Planxty?
It wouldn't be very different, no. No, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. I would perhaps add one or two other musicians, but and it would be more or less exactly the same. Apart from that, we're playing the same music anyway. Yes, I might add I would probably add a fiddler if I could find one who would agree to join, and I might add another multi-instrument, somebody who could play keyboards and guitar.
Yes. Who decides the musical direction of the group? Do you?
No, it's just a general. It's a joint thing. Yeah.
Well, Andy, thank you very much.
That's all right. Thank you.
I know you're in a bit of a rush. We'll try and get the rest of the boys.
Okay. We'll see you again. Thanks a lot.
Bye.